Thank you, Mr Speaker. This government will close every asylum hotel. We're making progress in this regard with reduced spend in this area by a third. We're restoring order and control to the system, speeding up case working, maximising the use of our estate, including ex-military sites, and continuing to increase returns.
Lewis Cocking.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This is my 9th question about the Asylum Hotel in my constituency, and I'm still waiting for a clear answer. The Prime Minister said yesterday we would see evidence of hotels being closed soon, but plans to move asylum seekers into new council housing would solve nothing and be an insult to millions on the waiting list. My constituents want the Asylum Hotel, my constituency of Broxbourne, closed immediately. So will the Minister meet with me to explain how and when this Asylum Hotel will close?
Minister.
Well, the honourable gentleman knows, I'm sure he remembers with a degree of pain from the general election, the commitment that we made to close the hotels, of course, the vast majority of which opened by colleagues on opposition benches. We will close those hotels within this Parliament. I know colleagues will always want a specific date. It's right that we bring these things forward when we are ready and able to do so. On his point on a meeting, of course, I'm very happy to do so.
Donald Cragg.
Happy New Year to you. I wonder if the Minister can update the House on the Cameron Barracks in Inverness and plans to move some asylum seekers to that town.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for that question. As been said from this dispatch box by myself and the Home Secretary, we are looking at ex-military sites, of which he names one. We are doing all the feasibility assessments there and at Crowborough training camp, and when we've made that final decision, we'll announce that in the right way. But that approach has to be the right one, moving people away from often high street, very public accommodation, which has significant cohesion impact, but also local economic impact, and pivoting away to larger military sites, I think, is clearly a better option.
Pete Wishaw.
Those protesting at hotels are usually there because they've been served misinformation and far-right political rhetoric by those who have sinister political agendas. One way we found to tackle this is to give proper information, tell the stories of what drove people to these countries, about the real conditions in their homelands. Will the Minister consider doing a similar type of initiative to dampen down some of the misinformation and terrible political rhetoric we get at these asylum hotels?
Well, I put absolutely no truck in those who seek to exploit the vulnerabilities of others for their own ends. I know my country, I know my city of Nottingham, that when the system is ordered and controlled, our communities step up to meet the moment to provide shelter for people who need it. But that simply cannot be done whilst that system is disordered, does lack that control, and has very public manifestations of failure, such as hotels being used for this purpose.
Mr
Speaker, the Cresta Court Hotel in my constituency has been used to house asylum seekers for just over a year. This is bad for the taxpayer, bad for my community, and bad for those themselves going through the system. And as I've said to the Minister now on many occasions, the Cresta, like all hotels housing asylum seekers, must be returned to normal use as soon as possible. So as we seek to build a fair, safe and just immigration and asylum system out of the wreckage left to us by the benches opposite, could he provide an update on the government's work to make this happen?
I'm grateful for that question. The honourable gentleman knows I know his constituency well. I know of where he speaks very well. We're very clear that hotel and all hotels being used for this purpose must shut. I know colleagues will want information as soon as possible. They may not have to wait too much longer, but it's right that we do this in an orderly and controlled way to make sure that the system works.
Mr
Speaker. Mr Speaker, I'm not surprised that the Home Office thought that Wealdon Green and Lib Dem run council would be a soft target to move asylum seekers to, considering that co-leaders previously seemed more concerned with Calais than they did about Crowborough. But moving asylum seekers into the neighbouring constituency, the constituency of the Madam Deputy Speaker's Crowborough training camp, will displace the cadets that are making good use of that facility. And as I understand it, won't save any money. So given it won't save any money, what is the benefit of moving them there?
Well, the honourable gentleman knows that this is not purely a financial arrangement. The impact of hotels and communities in this country, we know, has a profound social and economic one. We believe that big military sites are a better place to house. I appreciate that that is, of course, a point of difference, but the honourable gentleman needs to know that when he advocates against our proposals on larger military sites, he's saying yes to the use of hotels across the community, and to say anything otherwise, I'm afraid, simply does not stand up. That is the choice. His view is very clear, as is ours.
Tom Page.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I recently visited an asylum hotel in my constituency, and has separately spoken with people living there and the community surrounding the hotel. It's clear that ending the use of these hotels for asylum seekers is in the best interest of asylum seekers, but also the neighbouring community and the taxpayer. We've had many conversations with this, the Minister and I. Can the Minister confirm when the Government will begin ending the use of asylum hotels in Bournemouth?
I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman for that question. I can assure his constituents and honourable and right honourable colleagues that the honourable gentleman persists with me on this issue on virtually a daily basis, including over the Christmas period, which was very welcome indeed. I couldn't be clearer. We do not want to see hotels in Bournemouth used for this purpose. That is, as my honourable friend said, a purpose of the wreckage that was left by the previous government. We want that to change. I know colleagues want information as soon as possible. I'm asking them to be a little bit patient, and it may not be too much longer before they start to hear news in this space.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy New Year to you. It's all well and good closing these asylum hotels, but they've got to go somewhere else. And the latest madcap idea, Mr. Speaker, we hear from the opposite benches, is to build council houses for illegal migrants crossing the Channel. Does the Minister think that will help smash the gangs?
I'm afraid the honourable gentleman should spend less time reading newspapers, more time listening to what's said in this chamber. He will have heard from me, he will have heard from my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, through our asylum policy statement, the most significant change to our asylum system in a generation far in my lifetime, because it's not just about managing those who need support in the here and now, it is reducing numbers. People seeking sanctuary in this country is up significantly at a time when it is down significantly across the European Union. We are seen as the golden ticket. We're going to reduce hotel. The honourable gentleman shouts from long range at me, and having been near him at the football, I know he has a pair of pipes on him when he wants to use them. But there is a reason, Mr. Speaker, why the honourable gentleman does not want to hear me answer the question, because he knows he'll get a serious answer, not a three-word answer, but one that says we are going to reduce the numbers of people who need support in this country. That's how we'll close the hotels.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Happy New Year to you and your team. I welcome the Minister's commitment to closing the Tory Asylum Hotel in Gloucester by the end of this Parliament. He'll know that I've raised with him in the past about the plight of families who live next door to that hotel, who are having to deal with an increase in antisocial behaviour, also constant protests on their front door, and YouTubers turning up trying to get a Vox Pop reaction at 11 o'clock at night. What support can we give to those families who are having to deal with a hotel on their doorstep that they didn't plan on having when they moved in?
We are very mindful that whatever the nature of the supported accommodation, it should tread as lightly as possible on the community and on its neighbours. I would say to the honourable gentleman, we're standing up a capacity within the Home Office to make sure that local police are sharing information, and we're sharing information with local police around possible vulnerabilities, particularly in some of the cases he's talking about there. So if he's able to share that information to make sure that we've got that, and we're making sure local authorities, local police, alongside ourselves in national government, are supporting the community to the fullest degree possible.
Chris Phillips, Shadow Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Happy New Year. The Minister keeps saying he intends to end the use of asylum hotels. But the most recent figures show that under this government, there are now more illegal immigrants in asylum hotels than there were at the time of the election. The numbers are going up. 41,000 illegal immigrants crossed the Channel last year, a 40% increase on 2023. Does the Minister agree with the Prime Minister's admission in an astonishing letter to President Macron that this government has no deterrent to stop these crossings? Isn't the truth this? This government has no control of illegal immigration, and the only way to stop the crossings is to leave the ECHR and deport anyone arriving here illegally within a week.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman, I remember he was sat right in that seat. I'm afraid the Leader of the Opposition had moved him down a seat for this. But he heard when my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, talked about building the deterrent factor for this country. He was there because he was opposing the legislation when we passed the legislation on the Borders Act that passed only in the last few days of the last parliamentary year. That is part of our deterrent. He knows it because he opposed it. So this idea that instead we should leave international agreements where all our returns agreements will therefore need to be re-entered into, I'm afraid is for the birds. We're getting on with serious action. They're just getting on with their press releases.